Hi guys, I just really wanted to make this video because it's something that I really wanted to get off my chest, and it's something that has been kind of playing, or well, not playing, but like has been coming in and out quite regularly in my head and in my mind and my thoughts and things for a good while now, and just from looking back and reflecting on the kind of work that I do and where I work, and looking at people's backgrounds and the stories that they have to tell and the lives that they've lived, and kind of how sad things have turned out for them. It makes me quite sad to see that in the world that we're in now, though we've made a lot of changes and we've come so far in terms of understanding mental health and everything, I still think that we have a long way to go. And for me, I'm starting to slowly understand that pathologizing people really isn't the way forward. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know all the ins and outs of kind of diagnosis and things like that, but for me, diagnosis, I see them as labels, and I see in quite a lot of circumstances that they become kind of people's identities, and I don't always think that helps people. For example, when people say that so and so is depressed, or so and so is this and so is that, there's a lot of times I want to say, okay, what exactly do you mean by that? Because when you say that so and so is depressed, they then look at themselves and they think that there's something wrong with them, when actually, as a matter of fact, what's happened is something must have happened to them along the lines in their life or something, and the brain has absorbed every information around them at that particular point in time, and how they're presenting to you what you see as depression, or they're depressed and therefore that's who they are, is actually a normal reaction to something that might have happened to them in their life. A lot of the labels that we see today in mental health and mental illness, and I guess the world of psychiatry and psychology, such as schizophrenia, personality disorder, that's a big one, is actually really a cluster of emotions that people exhibit. I'm not going to specifically talk about schizophrenia because I don't really know all the ins and outs of that, but more so with personality disorder, there's a big word that comes up a lot, manipulative. But when you start to divulge and dissect and go deeper into when someone's been labelled as having a personality disorder, first of all, I completely disagree with that, because who are we to say that someone's personality has a disorder to it? Anyway, moving on. You start to realize the kind of life that people have lived, and kind of the circumstances that they've had to fight through, and all that kind of baggage that comes with it. And it's really sad, because if you've lived a life where you're constantly scared, or you're constantly sad, or you're constantly having to look for shelter, you're constantly having to look for safety, and you constantly have to do constantly, your brain's reaction to that circumstances is always going to be the same, because that's the only way it knows how to protect you. Emotions are messages. They're like our body's way of kind of communicating with us that something is wrong, or something isn't right, or something needs looking at. So when someone says that someone is depressed, why don't you just look at them and say, what's happened, rather than saying you're depressed? I just think, for me, and it's something that I really, I guess why I'm so passionate about it is because I've lived through this myself, when at one point in my life I was labelled as moody and depressed and everything, and when I look back now, it's only now that I can understand that actually what was happening back then and how I was reacting to it makes sense. It made sense. It didn't at the time because I couldn't see it, but now when I reflect back, and obviously having had a few months and years added to my life, I can understand it. So yeah, let's stop pathologizing people, and let's start understanding people more. Let's start loving people more, and let's try and understand and improve mental health a bit more. If you see someone struggling, or you see someone isn't who themselves, or they're not quite right within themselves, or whatever the case might be, doesn't matter if it's been for a day or a week, a year, or 6 months, whatever the case might be, rather than thinking that there's something wrong with them, why don't you stop and ask them what's happened? I guarantee you that they will warm up to that question a lot more than you putting labels on them and you putting judgment on them. Thank you.